The storm clouds were gathering over the Chicago skyline when my father's roar shattered the evening calm. "Get out! Hit the pavement and fend for yourself. You're nothing but a deadbeat loser." My mother lingered in the doorway of our brownstone on the north side, her arms crossed tight over her chest, her expression as blank as the gray Lake Michigan waves crashing nearby. She looked like she was just checking off another chore, evicting her own flesh and blood. But I caught the slight quiver in her lower lip, a crack in the facade, maybe regret or sheer panic. I didn't argue, didn't plead for mercy. Instead, I cracked a grin, empty, chilling, that made him pause mid-rant, his face twisting before ego kicked back in. He probably thought it was defeat. He had no clue what quiet resolve truly signified. I walked out wordlessly, my sneakers scraping the cracked sidewalk as the heavy oak door thudded shut. The windy gusts off the lake slapped my cheeks, street lamps buzzing like indifferent bystanders in the magnificent mile shadows. No bag, no heads up, just my jeans, hoodie, and a secret I'd guarded for 4 years. $25 million. That's what my folks had just booted onto the streets of the Windy City. Money wasn't the sting at first. It was the knife twist of abandonment that burrowed deep, festering like an untreated wound. The endless jabs, the belittling nicknames, the daily drumbeat that I was worthless. They were clueless about the empire I'd quietly built, and that blindness would be their downfall. They'd drilled it into me. "You'd crumble without us. You're too introverted, too fragile, too odd." Dad loved repeating it like a sermon. "Someday you'll appreciate our tough love." Tough love. The phrase tastes like rust now. 4 nights post-eviction, Mom fired off a text. One curt sentence, "Stay away from here forever." No sorry, no context. Just a wall slammed up, scripted and icy. I could have blown it off. But the vibe, sterile, evasive, nagged at me. It reeked of terror, not rage. So I dug in. Not for pity, not for payback, just clarity. I circled back to the old neighborhood under cover of darkness, idling my rental car across from the house on a tree-lined street in Lincoln Park, eyeing the glow seeping through the shutters. The place felt muted, off-kilter. Blinds pulled tight. Dad's SUV missing more nights than not. 10 days in, I spotted it. A figure slipping out at 1 a.m. That slouch, that leather jacket, recognizable. Not Dad, another guy. I held back from storming in. No need. I observed Mom wave him off with a hand that rested too intimately on his shoulder to be casual. As his taillights vanished into the night, she lingered on the stoop, flashing a smile that mirrored mine from Shouted.They, vacant, calculated. Threads were coming loose, and I'd let them fray on their own. I began connecting dots. Cell logs. I'd retained login to their family plan, one oversight in their haste. A recurring number, pinging after hours, coinciding with Dad's business trips to New York. I ran a trace. A name surfaced like a bad omen. Victor Harlan. Dad's ex-partner from Harlan & Sons Realty. The guy who'd tanked their joint venture in a shady downtown condo flip 5 years back. Dad had vowed to bury him in lawsuits. Turns out, burial's a two-way street. I checked into a boutique hotel overlooking Victor's glass tower office in the Loop. Shadowed him for a week. He carried that smug poise, like a wolf in a tailored suit, convinced the world was his playground. Mom rendezvoused with him there one afternoon. Same trench coat from Shouted.They. Her fingers grazed his elbow stepping into the elevator. Suddenly, the puzzle locked. She wasn't scared of my return. She dreaded Victor's exposure. If Dad caught wind the streets wouldn't claim me, they'd swallow her whole. So I bided time, observed. Let the suspense coil like a spring in the humid Midwest air. Then one anonymous tip, to Dad. "Dad," I murmured into the burner phone. "We gotta talk." He didn't disconnect. No outburst, just loaded quiet, that wary breed. "I know about Victor," I added. Click line dead. The initial crack in his armor. He appeared at my temporary crash pad in a Wrigleyville walk-up 2 evenings later, soaked from a Lake Shore Drive downpour, disoriented. "What exactly do you think you know?" he barked, but his tone cracked smaller than before. I slid over the dossier, snapshots from a discreet pie, texts, keycard swipes at the Palmer house. Raw facts, no embellishment. Just ice-cold reality. He went mute, scanning like a drowning man clutching for air. Hitting the last image, her leaning into Victor's touch at a River North gala, his inhale stuttered. How, words failed. I stayed stoic, removed, as his hubris imploded him. "Why spill this now?" he rasped. Because you labeled me trash and tossed me curbside. Figured you'd want proof of who's actually squandering everything. He collapsed into a chair, trembling, papers crumpling in his grip like accusations. Outside, thunder finally unleashed over the city, rattling windows. I offered no solace. Truth handled the heavy lifting. A month on, Dad rang again. Voice ragged, broken. The house echoed empty now. Mom had bolted with whatever she could grab. The firm was hemorrhaging clients, foreclosures looming on their Gold Coast properties. Come back, son. I need you to fix this mess. I dragged out the pause, thick as fog off the lake. I'm not scraping by on Skid Row anymore, Dad. Bewilderment. What? I never was. He pieced it slower until I wired a test. $1 from my tech startups account, Skyline Ventures, valued at 25 mil after my silent coding marathons turned apps into gold. Memo, for the father who showed me rock bottom's bounce. He dialed back obsessively. I ghosted. Let him stew in the revelation. Let him grasp what 25 million in failure really meant. I'd morphed into the success he swore was impossible. AI-driven real estate algorithms flipping Chicago markets while I crashed in dorms, ignored at family dinners. Now, he embodied the void I'd always seen in him. A hollow king on a crumbling throne. I drove past the brownstone last week, under a full moon glinting off the Sears Tower remnants, now Willis, but old habits die hard. Lights out, for sale signs swinging crooked. Vines choking the wrought iron fence where manicured hedges once screamed status. A tombstone for egos that confused brutality with backbone. I expected victory's rush. Got only detachment, like tracing a faded tattoo and forgetting the pain. They'd ejected me to shield their deception. In the void, I forged a fortune, silent partnerships, venture capital whispers in Silicon Valley outposts, all while they partied in Oak Brook suburbs. Power isn't always retaliation's fire. Sometimes it's stepping into the neon glow of Times Square billboards. Wait, no, Michigan Avenue's hustle, letting absence echo louder than screams. I pocketed my hands, drizzle picking up again, misting the L tracks overhead. Behind, the house groaned against the gale. Ahead, the L train rumbled toward infinity, carrying dreamers and doers. And in that divide, I shed the label of their son for good. But stories twist deeper in the city of broad shoulders. With the betrayal laid bare, I dove into my own shadows. Those millions. Earned in the underbelly of tech, hacking ethics be damned, or so the rumors went. My apps weren't just flipping properties, they scraped data from the forgotten, predicting evictions before banks even blinked. Ironic, huh? The kid thrown to the streets now owned algorithms that could homeless 1,000 more. Dad's collapse rippled outward. Victor Harlan, turns out he wasn't just betting Mom. He was siphoning Dad's remaining assets through shell companies masked as Windy City developments. I uncovered it via backdoor access to their emails, old habits from teaching myself code in high school basements while they mocked my screen addiction. I fed anonymous tips to the feds. IRS audits on Harlan's offshore accounts in the Caymans, funneled through Chicago's own corrupt real estate veins. Mom fled to Florida, or so the Pie said, shacked up in a Miami condo paid by Victor's dirty deeds. But Victor, he lawyered up, countersuing Dad for defamation in Cook County courts, dragging the family name through tabloids like the Chicago Tribune. Dad begged again, this time from a dingy motel off I-90, his voice a whisper over static. Alex, wait, no, your name's Ethan now in this tale. Fine, call me broken, help me bury them. I laughed, a sound like shattering glass over the phone. Bury, you taught me excavation, Dad. Dig your own grave. Instead, I expanded. Skyline Ventures swallowed Harlan's crumbling portfolio in a hostile takeover, leveraged buyouts fueled by my crypto side hustles, mined in secret during sleepless nights. Boardrooms in the merchandise mart became my battlefield, suits quaking as a 22-year-old homeless failure outbid them all. Mom tried reaching out once, a tearful voicemail from a burner. Ethan, it was to protect you from the mess. Protect? Her affair sparked a corporate war that tanked neighborhoods, displacing families in gentrified Pilsen blocks. I leaked her texts to the press, anonymously, of course. Scandal hit page 1. Real estate mogul's wife in steamy betrayal amid fraud probe. The fallout? Victor arrested at O'Hare, trying to flee to Europe. Dad, stripped bare, sold the brownstone at a loss, wandering Michigan Avenue like a ghost of his former self. I watched from my new penthouse atop the John Hancock Center, city sprawl at my feet. Triumph? Fleeting. Distance grew, but so did the empire. I mentored street kids in coding boot camps, turning potential failures into founders' irony's sweet revenge. Chicago's winds whispered lessons, betrayal forges steel, years blurred. Dad died broke in a South Side shelter, obituary a footnote. Mom vanished into obscurity, me. I stood on Navy Pier at dusk, Lake Michigan's roar drowning old echoes. The boy they discarded, he owned the horizon now. Silence wasn't just absence, it was the storm that reshaped everything. And in America's heartland hustle, I walked on, unbroken, unbound.